Hi, today I'm cooking one of my family's favorite vegetables, chayote, also known as vegetable pear, myrtilian, sayote, or chayote, depending on where you live. I'm currently trying to grow chayote in the garden, but those plants aren't going to be ready anytime soon, and my family loves this stuff. I wasn't going to wait months for a harvest to cook it, so when I spotted a bunch at the grocery store recently, I picked up a few so I could enjoy some now. And the store actually had a few different varieties available, so I picked up two types, the regular green kind that I normally cook with, and then black chayote. And I made a separate video comparing them, and I'll link them below so you can see the differences. But in this video, I want to show you how I prepare chayote and turn it into a simple, comforting soup using fresh tatsoi greens harvested from my garden, hydroponic garden tower that lives right in my living room. And let's go ahead and get started. So in this recipe, you'll need 4 large chayote sliced thin, 1 medium onion sliced thin, a few carrots sliced, a package of fresh tofu, vegetable broth or beef bouillon, a few cloves of garlic, 8 to 10 whole peppercorns, tatsoi or bok choy, enoki mushrooms, and rice noodles or wheat noodles depending on what you prefer. To start, you'll bring 6 cups of water to boil, add your broth or your bouillon, and then add the chayote, onions, carrots, garlic, and peppercorns. I like to peel the chayote and remove the center part where the seed is before slicing it. The size of the chunks can vary. I like to make them bigger, but I could also see it making sense to make them smaller for people with kids or just for different eating preferences. Let everything simmer for about 5 minutes. And while that's cooking, I'm going to go harvest some fresh tatsoi from my hydroponic garden and give it a good rinse. Of course, if you have bok choy or another type of green you prefer to use, that will work out nicely too. And what I like about having a hydroponic garden is that I really need to rinse it, maybe for dust. There's no bugs, there's no dirt, and it's super clean, so it's really nice and easy to prepare for cooking, and I love looking at the garden too every day. It's kind of like having an edible houseplant. Here I am finishing up trimming up the rest of the greens. I use about 3 cups, and when harvesting, I try to leave about 4 to 5 leaves in the center so I don't stress out the plant too much when trimming away the outer leaves. This helps the plant grow back faster, and then I've had these plants growing since October and it's now June. That's about 8 months. And I mostly grow tatsoi and lettuce, and I'm due to replace the lettuce. They're looking a bit sad there. And the tatsoi is just happy growing. They really produce a lot of leaves, and it's perfect for a family of 3 plus some more. So once the vegetables have cooked for maybe 5 minutes, you'll want to add the tatsoi and the tofu. You'll want to bring everything back to a gentle boil. And since the tofu is already cooked, it doesn't really need to cook more, but adding it now will add some light flavor to the tofu. But keep in mind that it should be a gentle boil because if it's too high, it can break up the tofu too much and it'll look kind of funny in the soup. I also like to cut up the tofu into medium-sized, bite-sized pieces, but if you prefer smaller, that works too. Also keep in mind that the greens can easily overcook. Undercooked, it might be a little bit crunchier and have a stronger flavor, but overcooked, it won't have much flavor and the texture might be a little too soft. At the same time, you'll want to soak your rice noodles in room temperature filtered water. This helps them absorb more moisture so they can cook evenly later. Just let them sit maybe 5 minutes or so, and then you'll also want to start a separate pot of clean water for the noodles. You'll want to set the water to boil, and then back to the soup. Once the soup comes back to a boil, add the enoki mushrooms that you've rinsed off. For the enoki, normally I like to rinse it off with room temperature tap water and then drain it. And actually, I forgot to mention that before rinsing, you'll want to cut off the base part of the stems. That sometimes has growing medium on there and sometimes also tougher stems. So then after rinsing, and then place it in the soup and let everything cook now for about 5 minutes. The Enoki mushrooms are so beautiful and delicate, you just want to keep it at a gentle boil and let it sit at the top as much as possible, as you don't want to break them up too much either. Enoki mushrooms add a slight seafood flavor to the soup, and looking at them right now, they kind of look like noodles. Well, I'm slightly stirring everything so the flavors can blend. And then for the rice noodles, you're going to bring the water to boil. I have it in a little pot behind my soup. And then once it starts boiling, you're going to remove the pot from the heat source and then carefully add the noodles in and let them sit in hot water for about 1 to 2 minutes. And this is important that you don't overcook them because they will get soggy and start to break apart. You just want them to be a little bit softer than what they were. And then you'll drain the noodles and rinse them under cold water. Sometimes people, instead of rinsing, will actually just put it in another pot of cold water and then drain it and then set it aside. And I'm also cooking some wheat noodles for my husband because he prefers those over rice noodles. Either type works great in this soup, so whichever you prefer, there's no need to make both unless you have a picky family like I do. And then once the noodles are done, it's going to be time to serve them. And you'll just place the noodles in a bowl. Have your bowls. I like to use larger bowls, kind of like ramen bowls. And I like to use ceramic bowls because those hold in the heat a little bit better and are not made of plastic, which if you put hot soups or liquids in plastic, it may leach the plastic out. So you'll want to use a ceramic bowl and then place some noodles in a bowl and then put the soup over top, depending on how much soup versus noodles that you want. And then to finish it off, you'll want to add green onions on top, or cilantro, or soy sauce, or calamansi. I like to cut the calamansi up and slice in slices and then just squeeze juice on the over the noodles. Or there's Ponzu sauce, which is like a citrusy soy sauce, and you can add that to taste. You can mix them up together. I like to add fresh toppings because they kind of brighten the flavor and make the bowl look really pretty. And that's it, a simple, comforting chayote soup packed with vegetables and fresh greens from the garden. And this is one of my family's favorite meals, inspired from the Filipino dish Tinola. I made it oil-free and vegan, but this dish is also so flexible you can adjust it to your preferences. Thanks for watching, and if you decide to try this recipe, let me know how it turns out.